And there's a grassroots effort gaining traction as more people learn just how much the town of Speedway was impacted by yesterday's fanless Indy 500. WRTV's Troy Washington shows us how it's going and why they still need to raise the funds.
IMS and all of the wonderful folks over there, the drivers, everybody associated with IndyCar was really disheartened when we weren't able to have fans in the stands. Fans is what makes everything go around here in Speedway.
Without their biggest fundraiser of the year, the golf tournament held the Thursday before the big race usually brings in the big bucks for the nonprofits who rely on that money throughout the year.
We're really seeking a broader audience as well. The Indy 500 gives us access to race fans from all over the world, and all of their contributions during race day typically help us out as a small community.
Without that help, Speedway organizations are about $272,000 in the hole. Last week, WRTV told you about the problem. Today, we're telling you about how the town of Speedway and the Exchange Club is working together to solve it.
We're a town of only 12,000 people, and so we're having to push a grassroots campaign here now to try to spread the word.
They've started this GoFundMe to reach beyond their town. The Exchange Club of Speedway is hoping the effort catches on to keep them from cutting back on their contributions.
We give back to other organizations. We've given over $1.2 million to the Children's Bureau here in Indianapolis over the last 20 or 30 years, and that impacts our ability to do that this year. We give back scholarships to all of the local schools, and again, that's going to impact our ability to do that. So we're just seeking new alternative ways, working in conjunction with the town to try to make that happen this year. Even organizations like the Speedway Trails Association is going to have to make operational decisions on how they're able to spend their money this year more wisely.
The town believes they'll make up the difference as long as the word spreads and the grassroots effort keeps picking up steam. Working for you in Speedway, Troy Washington, WRTV.
Find out how you can take part in this effort when you read this story on WRTV.com.
The 104th running of the Indianapolis 500 ended under caution, with Takuma Sato taking the checkered flag to become the two-time winner of the greatest spectacle in racing. And this morning, less than 24 hours after that victorious moment, he was back at the track to take part in more special moments unique only to the winner. The Sato smile was front and center for all the winner's photos, many solo shots with his winning car and the coveted Borg Warner trophy, which will now bear his likeness 2 times, and many photos with his team. The wreath, the winner's bottle of milk, all part of it as well. Dave first will have much more with Takuma Sato tonight on the news at 6. But first, Dave has a one-on-one chat with this year's Rookie of the Year, 21-year-old Patricio O'Ward, who started 15th and finished 6th for the Arrow McLaren SP.
104th running of the Indy 500's in the books. You're looking at the Rookie of the Year, which is prestigious because there's a long list of very talented drivers that have won this award. Pato O'Ward gets it for this year. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, man. I think we had a very solid race yesterday. Yeah. Obviously, this place only means one thing, and that's drinking milk and and the victory and putting your face on that trophy. But I think for a first try, we made no mistakes. You know, the number 5, our McLaren SP Chevrolet, was absolute mint in the pit stops.
It's crazy when you think about it, though. Didn't qualify for the race last year, and now here you are, Rookie of the Year. You were up front. What's it like when you're up front at the Indianapolis 500?
It's cool, man. I feel like we've missed the fans.
Yeah.
It felt lonely out there. Yeah. I had never really I've never experienced a race with 350,000 people in the stands. Mm-hmm. But I know other drivers have, and they have expressed how different it felt and how different everything was. And honestly, when, you know, for example, when we started the year with no fans, we went to Road America with fans. Mm-hmm. The difference of like life and energy and atmosphere, everything is so different. It's so much better with people here. But I know that IndyCar and you know, together with Roger Penske and everybody that made this really tough decision, it was the correct one. It's so important, you know, the health of everybody, but we're excited to see them here next year for sure.
The countdown is on the next year. Pato O'Ward's got a doubleheader in St. Louis this coming weekend. Best of luck there. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
And what a day it was yesterday. Sun-filled day. It was warm. Any thunderstorms stayed well away from 16th and Georgetown, and once again, it's quiet there right now as you look from the pagoda at some building cumulus clouds. They have cooled areas, but look at this, 95. Lafayette, the warmest in central Indiana today. Indianapolis, for the first time in 27 days, made it above 90 degrees. I'll show you where a couple of thunderstorms are in 1 second. Temperature in Greenwood is 87, 89 in Muncie. I point those out because you can see the others all at 90 degrees. It feels like 103 in Greencastle. The humidity is with us for the next several days, and the temperature will continue to go up, so that combination will make it feel more like 95 to 100 at times. From Richmond southwest to just south of Cambridge City, there was a thunderstorm that flared up. That's what's left of that. Then you can see from the south side of Indy toward Greenwood, where you've got the clouds and some showers along I-65. Temperatures a little cooler. A downpour in central Clay County and then to the west of Spencer. Through the evening, any isolated showers and thunderstorms will fade away, especially once the sun sets. It will be a warm night. We've got an interesting week ahead because there's a lot going on, from the tropics influencing our weather to big changes elsewhere coming up.
And now to Democracy 2020 and the race for president. After last week's Democratic National Convention, it's the Republicans' turn this week, and the delegates wasted no time. President Trump has already officially received the votes needed to secure the Republican nomination in his bid for a second term in office. ABC's Andrew Dimberg reports from Washington.
It's day one of the Republican National Convention, with President Trump formally receiving the GOP nomination to head the Republican ticket for a second term in November.
Donald J. Trump for the President of the United States.
The theme of the RNC's opening night, honoring the great American story. The president himself is expected to be a part of the convention every night and made a surprise appearance at the convention kickoff. Facing a fierce re-election bid, and while promising an optimistic convention, in his opening remarks, President Trump wasting little time attacking his opponents and fueling worries about mail-in voting.
And it's not fair, and it's not right, and it's not going to be possible to tabulate, in my opinion. It's just my opinion.
The president also defending his first term in office, touting his economic policies before the pandemic, hoping that will appeal to voters.
Before the plague came in from China, that's where we were going. We were going in a direction like we had never seen, the most successful economy in the history of our country.
As the coronavirus reshapes the 2020 election, Trump promising the pandemic will get under control, pointing to treatments and vaccines on the horizon.
Yesterday, convalescent plasma, you saw remdesivir. You'll soon see vaccines pouring out.
Unlike the mostly digital Democratic convention last week, the RNC is different, not just in party, but presentation. Republicans kicking off their big event with a mix of in-person and virtual events, with delegates gathering in Charlotte, North Carolina, many not wearing masks. Those delegates also officially renominating Mike Pence for vice president.
I heard the other day that democracy is on the ballot, but I think we all know the economy is on the ballot.
And while the Republicans look to use the week to fire up voters in the 2020 race, a major shakeup just hours before the convention. One of the president's longest-serving advisors, Kellyanne Conway, announcing she is leaving the White House at the end of the month. Also on this first day of the convention, more than 24 former Republican members of Congress, including Jeff Flake, going the other way, announcing that they will be voting for Joe Biden in November. Andrew Dimberg, ABC News, Washington.
And the convention runs today through Thursday. Coverage kicks off each night at 7 on ABC News Live, the network's streaming channel. Primetime coverage here on WRTV will begin at 10 each night.
Still ahead on WRTV News, easing one of the challenges created by the pandemic. IPS is feeding kids' minds, but they also want to feed their stomachs when they're learning at home. How parents can access that help and erase one worry. If you feel guilty about drinking multiple cups of coffee a day, you may not feel so bad after you hear about the possible health benefit.
And a few downpours just east of a Greenwood to Franklin line along I-65. We'll talk about the temperature trend and our chances for rain as we go through the week coming up.
It's hard enough for parents to make sure their children are keeping up with their schooling during this time of remote learning. And that's why Indianapolis public schools are making sure kids are still getting nutritious meals at home. IPS is still serving free meals for students during e-learning. We dropped in on this distribution site at George Washington School. The food service team is providing breakfast and lunch to all IPS students at dozens of school parking lots around the district. And for parents, this is a big help and one less thing to worry about.
It's important that we kind of keep a routine, and this gives us a routine. It also helps us, money-wise also, to be able to come and get a school lunch where you're going to get something nutritious for the child.
Parents can pick up the pre-packaged meals at more than 55 IPS school parking lots between noon and 3 o'clock on Mondays and Wednesdays, and between 9 in the morning and noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But there are some guidelines parents need to follow. Students or their parents are only allowed to pick up meals 2 times per week for a total of 5 days worth of meals. For a list of pickup locations and times, check out this story on the WRTV app or at WRTV.com.
And with so much of our focus on coronavirus, it's easy to forget that it's mosquito season, the insects that carry West Nile virus. The State Department of Health is urging you to take precautions when spending time outdoors, as the risk of West Nile increases with more mosquitoes in multiple counties testing positive. No human cases have been detected so far this year, but mosquitoes in 7 counties, Marion, Johnson, Allen, Elkhart, Noble, Kosciuszko, and St. Joseph, have all tested positive for the virus. The health department expects to see increased West Nile activity throughout the state. And mosquitoes love moisture. Kevin, is there rain in the forecast?
Yeah, it's awfully dry now, isn't it? There is some rain, and you'll need to drink plenty of fluids. Temperature today, a little bit of lemonade. Made it to 91 in Indy, but 95 as I showed you in Lafayette. And look, the next 2 days, temperatures will be in the 90s. Our chance for thunderstorms here the next few hours, they'll be isolated. Then I think we'll be dry until we get to Thursday and Friday, the next most likely time for some showers and thunderstorms. Humidity will not drop out of the picture until we get to the weekend. That's nice timing, though. Humidity goes down over the weekend. Until then, we stay very humid, very warm next 2 days. Then we start to see the temperature come down a little bit. It's really as the rain threat increases, more clouds, more thunderstorms, then the temperatures will decrease. There's your high for tomorrow, 93 anticipated in Indianapolis. We hit 91 today. Still hot Wednesday, dry as well. And Thursday, 88 with an increasing chance for thunderstorms. Well, that blew past the first part of what I wanted to show you, but Tropical Storm Laura, which is near Cuba now, will become Hurricane Laura, may reach the Texas-Louisiana coast as a Category 2 hurricane. Right now, the forecast tracks keep the center of that along or south of the Ohio River, but it will bring moisture and an increased chance of rain to the Hoosier State. 90 in Indianapolis right now. Lafayette's cooled down, and 93 is the temperature. 84 in Richmond. You've got nearby rain, that's why. Using Interstate 70, you can see where the showers are. There's a little downpour right over Richmond and the southern portion then of Wayne County. Come toward Indianapolis, south side of Indy, down toward Franklin along I-65. And some other downpours south of Brazil in Clay County, south of I-70 and US 40. Between now and 11, the activity will fade away as the sun angle gets lower and we cool things off. It'll take a while, and we never do really cool off tonight. Temperatures will still be in the upper 70s, and our overnight low will stay at 70 degrees. As you look at the forecast, the warmest part of the forecast, the next 3 days. As we get to Thursday and Friday, that's our best opportunity for more widespread showers and thunderstorms. Timing of this may still change because I do think the tropical system will play a role in this, so we'll wait and see. But right now we'll keep a chance for some thunderstorms in early Saturday, but a much better feel as we get to the weekend.
All right, pour me a glass of lemonade too. Thanks, Kevin. Hey, talk about a second chance. Officials in Michigan say a young woman who had been declared dead was discovered still alive at a Detroit funeral home. The fire department in Southfield says first responders spent 30 minutes yesterday trying to revive the 20-year-old woman and determined there was no sign of life. But the funeral home discovered she was breathing after she was transported there. An official with the fire department said the woman had a heart rate of 80 and that no one could believe it when the funeral home made the emergency call. The woman was taken to a hospital. Amazing. What a day for a Zoom outage. It's the first day of class for thousands of college and university students around the country and here in Indiana, not to mention the businesses that have grown to rely on the video conferencing technology to connect with employees and others. Zoom said it began receiving reports of disruptions around 9 this morning. It quickly identified the issues causing the partial outage and was working on a fix. Reports of technical issues came in from across the U.S., with most on the East Coast as well as in Europe. If you are a coffee drinker, listen to this. A new study suggests coffee can help protect you against liver cancer. Scientists in Australia say drinking 2 or 3 cups of coffee per day can reduce a person's chance of getting liver cancer by 38%. 4 or more cups of coffee per day could lower the risk by 41%. Researchers achieved their results by creating a formula using liver cancer death statistics and coffee drinking rates from 2016. In that year, more than 1.2 million people died from liver cancer.
Celebrating the women's right to vote, the Indiana girl's artwork chosen to help mark the historic moment in time, as she calls it, the long march to be heard. Welcome back. Today, First Lady Melania Trump marked the 100th anniversary of women gaining the right to vote with an art exhibit based on works by students from all 50 states and Washington, D.C. And we will show you how Indiana is represented. The exhibit is called Building the Movement. America's Youth Celebrates 100 Years of Women's Suffrage. The event to unveil the artwork was held outside the gates of the White House this morning. About 30 of the young artists were in attendance today, but the young lady from Indiana was not able to be there. The First Lady praised every student's contribution.
Your artistic creativity, attention to detail, and talent in each piece of artwork embraces the spirit of this milestone event in our nation's history.
The piece of art representing Indiana was done by 12-year-old Caroline Bone, an 8th grader at St. Jude Catholic School in Indianapolis. It's titled The Long March to be Heard. This is Caroline's quote explaining her vision. I drew an American flag with suffragists getting progressively larger to show how the suffrage movement grew in strength because of the protest marches in the country. I included the male and female symbols with the equal sign to show how women were gaining equality. Congratulations, Caroline. And you can get a closer look at Caroline's and all the children's art at womensvote100.org/building the movement. A major safety concern on the Monon Trail. A woman is sharing what happened to her husband, who was biking on the trail in hopes of helping others. That's tonight, all new at 6. And there's a new treatment option for people who are hospitalized with COVID-19. It just received emergency authorization. How people who have already been sick with the virus could help patients recover.
From the station working for you, this is WRTV News at 5:30, streaming now.
And now at 5:30, turning being sick into a way to help others recover. We'll hear from a COVID-19 patient who is very glad he had the option of the type of treatment that President Trump wants to make more widely available.
Topping our lineup today, the extra stress parents are feeling with virtual learning, maybe making things worse for their kids. How to best keep that stress in check. And women are getting creative during the pandemic to keep their companies going while encouraging other women. How female business owners are seeing success banding together. And some crematoriums and funeral homes have raised prices during the pandemic. We're looking into the service, making it easier to find the best prices now and the laws that are in place to protect you.
And Chris, we're looking at the thermometer. That's the big story today. As temperatures reach the 90s for the first time since late July. Hazy, hot, and humid. A 3H day across central Indiana. Our temperature is 90 in Indianapolis. Look to the left of the 90, and on the horizon you see those 3 kind of shiny objects. Those are the pyramids on the northwest side that you see on 465. Lafayette's at 93. They're down 2 degrees in the last hour. I have to show you this. The dew point temperature may not mean a lot to you, but it does. 65 is when it becomes uncomfortable. The temperature's now in the low 70s, more of a tropical feel. Along I-70 southwest portion then of Hendricks County northwest Morgan, some rain. Also between Edinburgh and Shelbyville, there'll be some rain that slides through, and you can see what's happening south of Brazil in Clay County. That'll move towards Spencer and slide to the east. These are isolated showers bringing relief from the heat. We'll talk about more widespread rain potential later in the forecast. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Chris?
And I'll take it from here, Kevin. Using plasma from patients who have had COVID-19 to treat current patients battling the virus is looking like a successful treatment option so far. President Trump announced Sunday that he is working to make this plasma more available as the pandemic continues. The FDA just granted an emergency use authorization for the treatment. Here in Central Indiana, IU Health has been studying this and offering this treatment option to its Hoosier patients. We spoke with one of those patients who was hospitalized with COVID for a month and was given the option of convalescent plasma to help him recover. Today, he says he is so thankful for that option.
I'll be honest, I felt 100% better then than I did the day I went on the ventilator.
This study also signals that there may be an improvement in patients that receive the convalescent plasma within the first 4 days, and also if the convalescent plasma has very high levels of antibodies. So it does seem to work. These observational studies are signaling, providing us strong signals that it may be effective. So I think for the general population, the first thing to know is, yes, it is safe. Second, it seems to be effective, but we need further studies to be able to reliably say it's scientifically.
For Dave, he said with his experience getting the plasma treatment, it got worse before it got better, but after 3 days, his doctor saw significant improvements with his health. He asked anyone who can be a donor to make an appointment to donate their plasma to help other patients like him to recover from the virus. Chris?
Right now, more than 25,000 firefighters are battling to keep communities safe from wildfires across the western U.S. Nearly 2 million acres have burned as unusually persistent, hot, and dry weather just worsens the problem. Dan Grossman followed a fire crew into one area to show how it's making resources extremely scarce.
Few understand the concept of prioritization.
I just haven't enjoyed a summer for 40 years.
As well as firefighters like Mike Ferris.
I can't think of 1 year that I didn't go out for 6 to 10 weeks, if not longer.
When duty calls, he answers.
So when we get in here, you'll see there's, a mix of burned and unburned.
Typically in the form of driving towards the source of danger that right now has evacuated thousands of people from their homes across the country.
All the resources are either committed, they're on mandatory days off, or they are signed. There is very few available resources at this time.
Marty Adele is the incident commander for the Grizzly Creek Fire in Colorado, the state's second largest at 30,000 acres. This week, it was priority number one across the country as it commanded nearly 1,000 firefighters to come in and keep the fire from spreading to nearby homes and towns.
It is very, very complex to say the least.
The biggest comparison in this part of the world is to 2002. Which was a very dry year, also had quite a few fires.
Matt Jeglum is the fire's incident meteorologist, meaning he gives specific weather forecasts that guide life-saving decisions on the ground. He says this year, poor snow followed by unusually prolonged hot and dry weather has made much of the western United States ripe for large wildfires that can burn uncontrollably.
A week of dry weather might dry out the most fine fuels, whereas 6 months of dry weather, everything's going to be dry, and so that's kind of what we've had.
We're aware of 1 cabin burned and 2 outbuildings.
For people like Mike, forecasts like that mean several trips to several dangerous fires in one season. Right now, the National Interagency Fire Center says resources are at a preparedness level 5, the highest level, as 490 crews from different districts are fighting 148 fires across the country.
We've been well received in this community and in the area especially.
As their priority remains the lives of others before their own. I'm Dan Grossman reporting.
Dan, thank you. Still ahead in our lineup, there's a lot of extra stress on parents and students with remote learning extending into the new school year. How to best keep that stress in check. Most kids starting the school this fall are finding themselves in the same place they were in the spring, at home. Parents and kids are having to make the effort to find a routine that works. Kim Alvarez says that her two twin 6-year-olds, well, they really treat school the same way that they would if they were heading to class, which means having breakfast and breaks at the same time. Now, she does see frustration in her kids for not having that one-on-one teacher help like they would at school and just not being around other students.
It's hard as a mom to watch your kids. Sorry. They want it. They want to be there and they want to be involved, but they can't fully participate. It's just their presence that's counting, and that's their time. So I would say that's my biggest concern.
Kim says that her kids are kept silent during Zoom lessons and are encouraged to not ask questions. And if questions are asked, she says it's limited to 1 or 2. Now, child psychologists say that parents need to work through those struggles and remain positive to help create a better learning environment.
The number one way kids learn is by watching what their parents do. So if a parent can present as optimistic and positive about the fact that their child's at online schooling, the child's going to be more likely to embody that same type of philosophy and mentality and can really be helpful overall to the engagement.
Dr. Jessica Hawks says that parents also need positive routines for kids, which include proper eating and sleeping habits, along with a designated area for kids to do their online work. Now, as for Alvarez, she says one positive of all of this is that her twins are in the same class, so they have each other. Now, next in our lineup, women are getting creative to keep their businesses going while working to support other women, how these business owners are seeing success in banding together. Laptops and other devices are facing shortages as the school year begins. Now, the AP found 3 companies have told school districts they're short about 5 million laptops. And we're talking big brands like Lenovo, HP, and Dell. Now, it's not just that high demand is to blame for this. Some companies also rely on Chinese suppliers, which have been affected by sanctions from the Trump administration. Now, it is likely that children are spending more time in front of screens with virtual learning. There are some concerns about how their eyes will be affected. Optometrists say the one thing to keep in mind is the younger they are, the more you want to limit that screen time.
There are many recommendations that under 2, there should be no screen time. Under 5, it should be no more than 1 or 2 hours. And then up from there, trying to limit it as much as possible.
Amanda Heiken with Vision to Learn says the 20-20-20 rule can really help offset eye strain and dry eye, which are 2 things that are often the result of spending too much time in front of a screen.
Every 20 minutes, you take a 20-second break looking 20 feet away. So this can even be something that the teachers can incorporate in their lesson plans.
Nearsightedness is also something that children could experience after too much screen time. Experts say spend as much time as outside as possible, whether it's going for a walk or just having some playtime. Blue light, that's another concern. Experts say at this point there's just really not enough evidence showing whether those blue light glasses really work. Now, there are many devices that will allow you to change just how much is admitted. Changing those settings is something that we can do to to protect our sight. Families should see an eye doctor if kids start to feel fatigued. Teachers are trying to pick up which students need more help than others.
It's really compounded this year with health issues, with concerns about the pandemic, with concerns about perhaps being with large groups of people for the first time since maybe since March.
Guidance counselors are getting creative. Many are reaching out to those that have not logged in during the crisis. The American School Counselor Association says that parents really should know that those counselors are there for virtual support. And the good news is states don't appear to be cutting these positions. In fact, some are adding more.
And I think that shows some recognition of the student needs that are out there, that, dealing with the pandemic, dealing with issues of racism and bias that we've been experiencing.
One of the primary roles of guidance counselors is to support social and emotional learning and development. Those are the so-called soft skills that help with a student's overall well-being. Now, there's some very clear research that experts are pointing to. SEL programs are valuable, they say, for helping improve students' career or college success, behaviors, and academics. And there were also, they were found to be protective factors against conduct problems, emotional distress, and drug use.
Well, as you look from the pagoda to downtown Indianapolis yesterday, hopefully you saw the Thunderbirds, the Air Force Thunderbirds around town. I don't think you had to be just at 16th and Georgetown. They did 2 different flyovers there, but I know they moved around Indianapolis. I was by Eagle Creek Reservoir and got a great view of them on a couple different occasions. So perhaps you have a video on your phone or a picture or two. 90 degrees, that's temperature right now. The west